Come on! Everyone else is doing it, and we can really use the extra scratch. Let's open up an OnlyFans, but call it BodyFans. We can take pics of you, take pics of your feet. We can get some really good money. Think about it. Oh, hello there. This is Professor Macabro, accompanied by the ever lovely and sexy. Look at her. Don't you want to pay money to see more pictures of her? Zombie Deathcitos. Here, again, with another movie review of a movie that we recently watched. Yes, indeed. Professor Macabro wants 2024 to be the day that we blow up. And I don't mean blow up like in explode. No. Blow up and get more eyes on the channel and get our voices heard out there. Indeed. And one way to do that is to produce content. Yes, indeed. So, things are always shifting in the channel. We're doing movie reviews. We're doing those weird one-off videos that I like making, and I hope you enjoy. And we'll have some other things thought out in the near future. But let me know what you think of the recent content and what suggestions you might have. But we're back to movie reviews, and I wanted to talk about a movie that we watched on Tubi. Yes, indeed, Tubi. Turning into a big fan of that platform. It's the one that I check and actually just waste a couple of hours scrolling through all the movies that it has. Like I mentioned before, Tubi kind of sucked when it first released in the grand old country of Mexico. It didn't have a lot of the weirder Mexican movies that I grew up in. Well, I wanted all the spicy horror movies that everyone was talking about. And then, of course, I found out that Mexico wasn't the only one that didn't get Tubi. The UK doesn't get Tubi, as well as a bunch of countries in the Europes. So, but eventually did release, it got better, and now I have access to a lot of movies that I wish I could own, but I haven't been able to find. And one of those occasions, I was scrolling through the movies, and I saw the title to a movie, and I was like, this sounds interesting, I'm gonna push play. I even shared it on my socials, and oh boy, I must admit, Professor Macabro really had a lapse of memory, because as I put play and saw the title, I was like, this is kind of familiar. I can't place what it is, but I'm gonna hit play and watch it. And later on, Professor Macabro did drop the ball on this one. This movie was reviewed previously by the great Newt Wallen in Schlockenoff Films like a year ago. He talked about this on one of his What the Fuck Wednesdays. And that, I guess, left the name recorded in my brain. So when I scrolled through it, I was like, oh, this movie sounds interesting. Something clicked, but I am sorry for not giving the proper props to Newt Wallen and his movie review. I have rectified it, but I did wanted to mention it yet again. Newt Wallen of Schlockenoff Films reviewed this movie first. And the movie in question is Mardi Gras Massacre. Yes, indeed. He already gave a very detailed explanation of it, but again, my mind, well, it goes into places that even I'm afraid to explore. I guess I just remembered the name and some of the plot, but not the whole detail. So I push play, and what is this movie about? Well, let me tell you. The movie is about this guy, this very suave, sophisticated guy, not unlike Professor Macabro, and, but very differently from Professor Macabro, because I'm a one-woman type of guy. He goes into bars and strip clubs of looking for something special, something unique. And what is he looking for? He is looking for the most evil lady on the place. Not the most easiest, not the most expensive, but the most evil. And I'm like, well, how do you define what actually makes an evil person? I'm curious. Carry on. And they're like, you want someone evil? You need to get hold of this bitch over here. She's an evil bitch. She'll do you right. So he goes to this lady and he's like, hey lady, are you evil? And the lady's like, fuck yeah, I'm evil. If there's a contest for evil people, I'll win it every time. And the guy's like, almost like Mr. Burns doing, excellent. So he takes her to his place and he's like, whining and dining her, and then, strip, please. I have a very unique set of desires that I need fulfilled before I can do my thing. And she's like, hey, buddy, You already paid $200. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. But again, I must question on other people their lack of judgment, because the guy's like, climb into this table, and she does. Let me tie you up, and she doesn't. I've seen enough horror movies to know that if someone wants to tie me to a bed, I'm gonna say fuck no, because I don't know if you're gonna give me the time of my life, or you're gonna gut and kill me. And in most horror movies, it's the latter. Yeah, they get gut and killed. So I always question whether or not horror movies exist within horror movies, that people don't know what to expect. I don't know. So he ties her up and then gets butt naked, but puts like a poncho and a mask, and he's like, I will sacrifice you, evil wench. Bam! Stabs her. And the effect looks pretty interesting. They kind of get the texture and the size of the boobs. And the guy's cutting at her and then rips out the heart like, Kalima! And then presents the heart to his god. And they're like, okay, good start to a movie. I'm digging this. This movie came out in the 70s, so it also has that cool 70s vibe, like, and the music's really rocking. Digging this movie already. But again, it was already showcased by New Wallen, so that's why a lot of things were like familiar. Like, have I seen this movie before? Everything sounds very and looks very familiar. But again, it was because Newt already talked about it. And we follow then to these two detectives that are real scummy detectives. They're like the bad lieutenants of Mardi of New Orleans. And they go with this one chick, and who was also a lady of the night. And yeah, because they find a dead body, and they're like, yeah, that bitch was a bitch. And there was this guy that wanted the most evil person on the place. So we directed her to her, because she's a bitch. And I don't feel bad that she got killed. She was a bitch. But then the detective and the lady of the night, a blonde lady of the night, start hitting it up. And we get this really happy montage where they're talking sweet nothings at their ear. And they're at a restaurant and playfully, much like Zombie Desitos and I do, playfully feeding each other food, like, here, baby, ha 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 ha. And then they walk in the park, and everything's like, we don't walk at the park, no, we walk at a cemetery at night. The sun does not agree with both our dispositions, so we don't walk at the park at night, day, I'm sorry, we walk at a cemetery at night, that's more our jam. But these people are all happy lovey-dovey, ha 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 ha. And then they're like at this pier, and they're hugging each other and laughing, and then they see a boat pass by, and they're like waving goodbye. Everything's hunky-dory, lovey-dovey, romantic bullshit, and you're like, no, I'm glad that detective and that lady of the night found love. How good. And then all of a sudden, the lady of the night finds out that the cops stole the money that the bad guy paid for the evil wench, and she's like, you dirty cop. You lie, you cheat, you steal. Viva la raza! Dun, dun, dun. I already made that joke on a video, but yes. As soon as I heard those words, I thought of Eddie Guerrero. And then the cop goes like, well, you're no one to judge me. You're nothing but a dirty lady of the night. And he starts slapping her. And I'm like, the fuck did this come from? Weren't you two lovey-dovey fuckers all happy and heart-shaped bullshit a while ago? The fuck happened to this? And of course they have to go their separate ways. And while the bad guy, the high suit fancy fucker is going around killing people, you would think they would catch on his MO, but guess not. I guess the dark strip club faces just all look the same. But I will say this about the movie. They do seem to have different body cast made for all of the victims. Because this is something only Professor Macabre would know this. But mostly when they body cast something, they use the same body cast for the stabbing. But no, for each one of the different body types of the women that he kills, you have a different cast. Like, you have small boobs, you have okay boobs but kind of perky, and then you have the big boobs. They made a body cast of each one of those for each one of the kills. And I gotta respect that. I gotta respect the fact that they actually went to the effort of making a body cast for each one of the victims and not cheaped out and just made one for each one. So the effect is kind of wonky, because it does look like a dummy, and there are scenes where you can clearly see that there's no legs attached to this torso that the guy's cutting up. But I'm still rolling with it. I'm still invested in what's going on. And the movie climaxes itself with the blonde lady of the night that got beat up by the cop being hired by the guy along with 3 ladies, because this is his big moment. He's going to sacrifice 3 ladies at the same time to get whatever dark deal he made fulfilled, and that's what he's going to do. But that's when the cop's like, damn it, I slapped that lady silly, but I love her, I guess. And he goes to rescue her, and then there's this big chase with the bad guy and the cops. And that's, I'm going to leave it at that. But, yes, I had a lot of fun with this movie. Again, as I was watching it, the back of my mind kept saying, have I seen this before? How do I know all this? And again, that's one of the reasons I explained before. But this was a fun movie. It has that 70s style that I am a big fan of. Well, I've said this before, my favorite decade of all time is the 80s. But the 70s and the movies from the 70s have this really interesting style that I also appreciate. And of course, it does look kind of low budgety, but at the same time, it does have good moments with it. Again, the fact that they made different boob-sized body casts for each one of the victims is something that most people won't even do it. They did, so props to you. The bad guy's very interesting. He's very Dante suit guy, but other than the fact he's killing women, at least he gives them a proper final meal. So, yeah, I really dug this movie. Again, the only iffy thing is that cop beating the lady of the night, which, again, seems to come out of nowhere. But I guess he doesn't like being called out on his bullshit, the mustache fucker. So I would recommend it. Again, it's on Tubi, and the only thing you have to lose is the 2 hours of, not even that, I think it's an hour and a half. You only have an hour and a half of your time to lose on something that I personally enjoyed, and I do recommend to everyone that has access to Tubi and can watch it. Or buy the physical media and own it for yourself. Might have some juicy special features in that if you buy the physical media. But yes, Mardi Gras Massacre gets a recommendation from Professor Macabre. But again, fair warning and disclosure, most of the movies that Professor Macabre enjoys are only enjoyed by Professor Macabre. But this one, unlike something made by the Asylum, is a type of movie that I think most people will enjoy if they get into it. So push play on that Tubi button and watch Mardi Gras Massacre. Indeed. Good times, good times. I really enjoyed that one. And it will go into the movie hunt list that I need to get a physical copy of. Indeed. Did you like it? Of course you did. Well, yes, you did. Well, I thank so much for your time and your watch. Please let me know what you think, if you've seen it, of Mardi Gras Massacre in the comments down below. But until we see you all again next time, this has been Professor Macabre, accompanied once again by the ever-lovely Zombie Desitos. Yes, don't you want to pay for pictures of this? I would, but I get it for free. Ha 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 ha. But until we see you all again next time, we wish you all, like always, a good evening.